Yeah, nighttime session. In session. Got some problems with these headphones there. I'm crackling away. But anyway, many thanks to Bobby and Steve. Another scintillating couple of hours of house. It's Fabio. Feeling rather tired after last night's exploits. Got more of the best in drum and bass. Got a few things to say. Got to do a bit of sounding off tonight. I've got to. It's got to be done. And the jazz step coming up at 1. Before then, some world exclusives. Some rolling beats. Kicking off with the sound of Nookie. Big hello going out to Gavin. A remix of Dance of the Zeros. And I think that's from his forthcoming album. Lots of new pressure tonight. Keep it tuned, keep it locked. Get your teeth in, Fabio. The finest in D&B. I was meant to do the history lesson tonight as usual, rushing out and stuff like that. Forgot everything. What kind of pizza is that, mate? My man sneaking around with some big pizza stinking out the studio, man. Easy, Jace. Anyway, Jason was down there representing last night. But I'll tell you more about that later. Back to the beats.
100% music.
As I said before, lots of things to play. Lots of things to say. And we're getting the Indian summer, as they call it. Very warm, very nice outside. What a mad country we live in. Gotta say a big hello going out to my sister and Marcia. Respect going out to you too. Not forgetting Peter. Getting into the beats now, are you, mates? There's the sound of Primary Motive, a track entitled Life. Tomorrow night, if you ain't doing anything, the World Dance is on tomorrow night. I'm over there early. Come and check it out. Big respects going out to Jay and all those that represent the AWOL crew and World Dance. Back to the music.
as we are born, knowing only life.
A primary motive track titled Life, going out to everyone who represented down at Tempo last night. Made it a very, very special night. You know, even Jason was there. That's saying a lot. But yeah, bad night. So respects going out to everyone involved, everyone who came down, because it blew up big time in there. Going out to the South London soldiers. Rogue Soul coming up for you later. Also a big hello going out to Jim and Phil. The Dark Side, the Source Direct. You'll be hearing from me this week, no doubt. Brand new coming up from them later.
Just as we are born.
Also respects going out to the G. Good to see Goldie represented in the place last night. Jumping around going crazy. Bit of a sound off coming up later. I've got some things to say. Also, if you want to read something hilarious, catch Wax magazine this month. Me and the Rider front covering it out. And it is a very, very funny interview. Hello going out to everyone representing down there at Wax magazine. It's the Fabio. Friday nights, the sessions, the jazz step coming up at 1. This is how we do.
Sounds to soothe your mind. Fabio on Kiss 100 FM, the purest in drum and bass. Fabio, the drum and bass leader.
Big shout going out to Karina, the Screamer. Not forgetting Shy. Right, we're going to go straight into the ad break after this. White Label Pressure. Check this out.
Mind in the big bad city. Kiss 100 London.
We've got a competition later to win 5 CD copies of Total Science and 5 pairs of tickets to Back to 92. That's all coming up later on. Shout going out to the twins who are well and truly twisted. The Twisted Twins. Drum and bass reps, no doubt. It's all about rolling. I've got to make a quick comment about, there's a lot of talk of elitism and a total split with the jungle scene. Now, let me get my 2 pennies worth in. Let me tell you something. Been around a long time on this scene. So, listen, let me tell you, and anyone who wants to come and say anything to me about anything, let them come, because I was around before the lot of them. And I've been representing, holding my corner. I don't trouble no one, I don't expect no one to trouble me. That's the way it goes. You know, and if you want to talk about jungle, Pulp Fiction, I named the tune. If it weren't for me, that tune would have even seen the light of day. That's the biggest jungle tune there's been for the last 3 years. Enough said. So if you want to talk about elitism, I'm just doing my thing. Doing what I like. Playing the music I like. With a love and a passion. So if anyone wants to question that, step forward. That's all I gotta say. Everyone knows what I'm talking about. Everyone should just get on doing their own thing. Stop worrying about what Goldie's doing. Stop worrying about what Bookham's doing, and just get on with it. For God's sake. Anyway, we're coming up to the ad break. Back after that with something on Creative Source. What I was basically trying to say before the break, you represent your space and you just get on with it. I'm not worried about what other DJs are doing. I do what I do, and then that's the bottom line of it. In every music there's different forms and different spectrums and different styles, and that's what makes the music special. Not everything can have a rinse out amen break in it, Stop being childish. But anyway, something coming up on the Creative Source. A track entitled Brace Yourself. Time to get back to the music, time to get back to the sweet beats. Sending this one out to the Pesce. All that representing his crew. This Kiss is Fabio.
Just won't hurt a bit. Just brace yourself.
sound of origination. Boys from way back. Bigelow going out to Rob, that's Creative Source. The new lick for next year, 97 Creative Source style, believe it. Bigelow going out to Steve, just entered the arena. Yeah. Remember, we've got the jazz step, we've got competitions, we've got it all. Keeping tuned to the number one across London, Kiss FM.
100% original pirate style. Kiss 100.
Now that's what I call 100% music. Music. Music.
Sound of Hidden Agenda and a track entitled The Slide. Big yow to the Newcastle and Middlesbrough crew. Man United in the week. Oh, that was disappointing. That was very disappointing. Little Turkish side coming dark up Man United like that. At home, 53,000 people. Cantona, what's going on? Cantona's my boy as well, and he's just not running at the moment. He's kind of playing like Chris Phillips. And that's a bad sign for any team, believe you me. Yeah, but I don't know. They'll probably still qualify, but that's not good enough. Anyway, that was my football speak for the week. I can't really talk because Tottenham, well, what else can I say? Time for the ads. Mighty Rider played a wicked set last night. As ever. And me and Ryder representing at Goldsmiths College tonight. Back to back for 3 hours. That's the way we do. There's something on SS's new Identity label, a track entitled Slow Drift. Love this.
100% stamina. In the big bad city. Kiss 100 London.
100% original pirate style. Kiss 100.
Stamina. Nobody can funk for longer. Nobody.
Representing all ends of the scale, as we do on a Friday night. That's the sound of Source Direct, a track entitled Black Domina. Coming from all angles, here's something from the Bristol Massive. Track entitled Are You Sleeping? When this track starts to roll, it rolls. Send this one out to Stevie. I know you're in it. Also a big respect's going out to Subject 13. Roy, Dave, Lennox, the whole crew. Jazz Step Imminence. Time's flying by already. Also competition to come. Some big gigs coming up. It's all good, it's all Kiss. said before, sending that one out to Steve. Track entitled Are You Sleeping? Flynn and Flora. That tune is so fat. Sending that one out to Brian G and all that represent down at V Records. Good night the other night down in Bargo on a Monday night. Check that out once every 2 weeks. Down there in a fashionable Kings Road. Well, fashionable in the 60s anyway. No, the still fashionable Kings Road. It's a good night had by all last week. Well, we're going to take a pause for a cause. Back after this with some more pressure.
Music.
100%
Rolling ever forward towards the jazz step. Sending that one out to Kate. Down there on the hill. Also sending that one out to LTJ Bookham. Not forgetting Conrad, the mighty MC Conrad. And you can catch Conrad, LTJ Bookham, Slipmaster J, Pesce and Grooverider down at the Promised Land with live boxing promised at the end next week. Also don't forget Innovation, more details on that a bit later. Rolling on the one, Kiss. Also a big shout going out to all the Groove Connection crew. Ray Keith, not forgetting you, Ray. Brian G, Jumping Jack Frost, Chemistry and Storm. Grooverider, the Mickey Finn, all representing, running things tight. Jazz Step coming up next.
Fabio on Kiss 100 FM, the purest in drum and bass. It's the Jazz Step on Kiss 100. Keep it locked.
Sending this one out to the Innermost crew. Cleveland Watkis. And the rest of the guys. Tomorrow night, I'll be down there at the Leisure Lounge. Myself, Goldie and Grooverider on the decks till 4 o'clock. That's the Metalhead session down there at the Leisure Lounge in Holborn. A biting sound system. Of course, Sunday nights, the Blue Notes. Thursday, get tempo in your book. Last night was a night. Sending this one out to the soldiers, Raff and Cliff. Not forgetting the mans.
You're about to hear.
The Jazz Step.
Jazz.
big shout to Danny C. Also Michael Pierce, Renegades. Also to everyone that was down at Helter Skelter last week, which was absolutely crazy, absolutely mad. Dougal, the man's, yeah. But anyway, competition time. We've got 5 CD copies of Total Science, an excellent CD compiled by Darren J, along with 5 pairs of tickets to Back to 92, and a really easy competition. Where is Tempo held? Of course, Tempo on a Thursday night. Where is it held? And I've mentioned it so much time. If you don't know, you must be sick or thick, one of the two. Or something else that rhymes with that, which I'm not allowed to say. That's 5 CD copies of Total Science, along with 5 pairs of tickets to Back to 92. Where is Tempo? First 5 people to ring in will win a CD and tickets. Can't beat that, can you?
100% original pirate style. Kiss 100.
Sound of the mighty Underwolves. A track called Can I Be Free? Big shout going out to Professor Stretch. Not forgetting Ned and the rest of the crew. Representing on the D&B on a Friday night. Remember, when I'm not here, the Grooverider will be. The sessions Friday night, 12 till 2, becoming legendary. Right, time for... Is this the last ad break? No. Damn. I apologise to the sponsors for that one.
100% music. Music. Music.
rolling with the sound of Renegade. Gotta send respects out to Trouble on Vinyl, Clayton and the rest of the massive. Rolling with the beats with Fabio on a Friday night, 12 till 2. This is how we do. Gotta tell you about Innovation, Saturday the 16th of November at the Camden Palace. On the night you'll have myself, Grooverider, Doc Scott, Randall, Andy C, Ed Rush, Chemistry and Storm, DJ Ash and DJ Depth. With MCs on the night, GQ, Flux and Cleveland Watkis, £12 in advance. Innovation returns to the Camden Palace. That's the 16th. Drum and bass in your face, trust me. Also, listen out for Innovation going weekly soon. That's all I can say. Right, time for the last ad break. Back after that with DJ Pulse and Flytronics. Sound of the Omni Trio and a track entitled Twin. Sending big respects to Rob Haig Not forgetting the Moving Shadow Massive, Rob Playford and crew. And of course, next year, a big year. Albums from Photech, the Grooverider and Goldie. Things are going to be blowing up big, big, big time. Also do remember, come and represent Dan Tempo on a Thursday. As I said, it takes a long time to build something like that, but we're getting there. And last night was a smasher. Love and kisses going out to Sarah. And respects going out to the mighty, mighty Grooverider. And that guy's got an album on the way. Trust me on that. Right, about another 15 minutes or so. Remember, it's Fabio, it's Kiss on a Friday night. As I said, later on, back to back down Goldsmiths College, me and the Grooverider.
100% original pirate style. Kiss 100. 100% original pirate style. Kiss 100.
A track entitled Diversity. Sending this one out to Barry, also Helen T, all the crew at IDM. So also tomorrow night, we're down at Stush, me and the Grooverider back to back for a little session over there at Adrenaline Village. Big shout going out to Ivan and the rest of the crew. Not long to go. Another 2 weeks are over. Flown by really quickly. Had so much more music to play, but another 2 weeks. Just have to wait. And of course the Grooverider takes over next week. Another blasting session from the man. Thanks for everyone as well that rang in for the competition. Good to know you're listening. It's Fabio, it's Kiss.